All right, Jessie, I know we know each other, but I just want to tell you a little bit about what I do and what I'm here for today. I'm with sports psychology, so what that means is I'm just here to enhance your performance, but on the mental side. So kind of the same as training for throwing, but you're training your mind to be able to enhance your competition, enhance your performance. So I'm here today just to talk about anything that you want to pertaining to performance. But before we get into anything, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started throwing in high school, and my dad was a track athlete in college, so that was kind of like what got me into it. And then I got recruited by Tennessee, one of four schools. That's how I ended up here. I came on a little bit of academic money and some track money, and came here I guess 2 years ago, and I've loved it ever since. I throw hammer, discus. I dabbled in shot put, but I was not good at it at all in high school. So that's kind of like where I'm coming from.
So, what do you love about your sport?
Well, I just love that it gives me a way to like get my aggression out, and it's really kind of like an avenue for just this release of. I mean, I can like channel all of my aggression in kind of like one sport. I love that it kind of um, it opens me up to a bunch of different kinds of people. I've been exposed to all kinds of different people from all over the world, and I really appreciate that I can experience a lot of different kind of cultures.
So, it sounds like there's a lot of emotions involved.
Yeah,
In your
yeah.
competing.
I've really formed a lot of great relationships with people on the team, and I really hope to see those go past my collegiate career.
So, is there anything that you're dealing with now about performance that you want to talk about?
Well, when I get to competition, like I get really, really anxious. I have, I was saying that I get really aggressive. Well, I feel like I pump myself up a little too much. So before I start throwing, um, I think that I rattle myself, and then when I get into, the ring to throw, I can't calm myself down, like calm that energy down. So that's where I've really struggled. I can like pump myself up, but I can't calm myself down enough to perform well. So
So, I mean, you do like to be, like you said, like to be pumped up. So it's more of a balance. You're trying to find a balance between that.
exactly, yeah, because I mean that's important to really to. It's important to be aggressive, but then it's also important to really have control of your body and your mind. And sometimes that's been kind of the biggest struggle for me.
So, what's like a particular instance that you can think of where it was really hard on you?
Well, just last weekend when I was competing, like I, sat down, I listened to my music, I really got into kind of the mindset of really like this is me, like I'm all, I'm ready to compete, and I stayed away from everybody. I love to like go off by myself and get ready, and then when I stepped into the ring, I had totally felt like I was ready to go, and then when I stepped into the ring, I fouled all three throws. Like I wasn't able to keep one in at all, which is terrible. I didn't have any kind of mark for my performance, and so I wasn't really, I don't know how to combat that at all.
So, is there any emotions related to that? Like, were you too? You think you were too amped up, or you were not focused enough?
Yeah, because I think, like I could never be too calm going in. It's always like, I walked in, I was shaking a little bit, and when I walked in, I think that I had a lot going on in my mind. I was trying to think of like all the things to do right, and I think that sometimes like muddles, everything in my brain, and I can't focus on one thing to really get a good performance out of it. So,
Well, tell me about a good experience. Like, what went right? What did well, and when you performed well, and how you're feeling in
um,
that.
I would say like the last time that I really had a good performance with SECs, I was able to hit all the positions that I've been practicing. I was able to, think about the cues that we've been practicing all year long. And I really felt like it just all came together at once. And I mean, I think I had a good balance of um, not being too calm, but not being all crazy, and not being able to control myself. So I think that really what sticks out to me is that I was able to picture the positions that I needed to hit and the cues as well. So
Yeah, and that's a good feeling when that all comes together and you get a
Mhm.
balance. So, what do you think you did differently before your competition that you did?
Um,
When you said you were
I
listening to music, were you doing
mhm.
the same thing? Or were you doing the same kind of um, meet routine?
I would say that I was a little bit more relaxed. I think that, like, I was able to go over and talk to my coach and kind of go through the game plan for the day, and then kind of joked around with my teammates. And once I was talking to them, it kind of felt like practice. Like, this is another training session, and I can go after it. And maybe that was what was different because I really didn't isolate myself so much. So maybe that's what helped. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, or maybe just talking to people, you got a little bit more relaxed. Like you said, treating it like practice. Maybe that's a good thing because isolation. Sometimes you have way too many thoughts in your head. So that sounds like maybe that was a problem and you just weren't able to mellow out. But what's something that you've used during competition that has worked for you as a mental skill?
I've definitely tried to control my breathing because I can tell when I am really psyched up. And if I'm shaking, I'm a little bit like I get a little anxious because I'm just ready to go, and it just makes me really, really tense. So I've really tried to control my breathing, and I have tried to visualize what I would look like when I'm hitting the positions that I should be hitting. That hasn't really seemed to help so much. So I could tell, when I am focused on my breathing, that alleviates some of that tension. But I don't know about the visualization.
Did you practice the visualization in practice or just at the meet?
Not really in practice. So, I had kind of thought about it a little bit and tried to think of like something I could change. So, I tried to, when I do feel like, oh my gosh, like what should I do? And I feel a little desperate in that situation, I have tried, I've tried visualizing, but it really didn't seem to help. So maybe that was what happened.
I mean, it sounds like maybe it would be something good to try to implement in your practice. So you're kind of creating a practice-like scenario during competition, like you said. You kind of like to feel like that. So maybe if visualization's kind of harder just to do on the spot, just randomly. So maybe if you practice your visualization throughout practice, it'll feel more comfortable.
I would probably agree with that because, when I'm talking to my teammates and my coach before, and I really feel like I have support behind me, that's when I felt really comfortable. So I think that, if I made it a routine, then that might help me when I get to the competition setting.
Is there, looking back on your peak performance that you described to me, like a good performance that things were just meshing and having a good balance? Looking at that, is there anything that you can take to your next competition that might help?
Well, maybe maybe those two things that I've talked about is maybe controlling my breathing and also trying not to control myself too much and maybe not be too strict on myself. Maybe if I'm a little bit more relaxed, then that might keep me relaxed in the ring because it seems that I'm relaxed. If I'm relaxed outside the ring, that I could take that inside the ring. If I'm really isolated and getting myself really tense outside the ring, then maybe that's what might happen when I step in and take my throws.
Well, those sound like good ideas. So let's try that at the next competition, and then we'll check in after that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jessie.